Make no mistake, this is a serious move in the markets. We have Ethereum putting in a plus 20% gain for the day, its biggest run since the last altcoin season in November 2024. We have many altcoins pumping massively today. I mean, PEPE's up 45%, Brett's up 33%, even some of the DeFi coins are up 24%, Virtual up 26%. The market is absolutely flying. Bitcoin is broken back above 100K. And is currently pushing towards all-time highs. So we have a lot to discuss today. The main questions I want to answer today is, one, are we back? So is this a bull run 2.0? Are we heading into a new altcoin season reminiscent of November 2024? And the second question I'm going to answer is, what are the optimal plays at the moment to maximize the current momentum in the market? And luckily for you, I have a bunch of setups right now that are looking really good that haven't really run that much yet. So although there are some alts which have run, obviously Bitcoin's run, obviously Ethereum started to run, obviously some altcoins like PEPE and Brett have already started to run. There are many altcoins which are just now only starting to reclaim major high time frame levels, thus validating the potential to open new long positions on those coins. And there are a few positions which I actually opened this morning as a result of this. And I'm going to share those trades with you today. And over the course of the next few days, I'm going to keep you updated as these trades go on. So make sure you do have that post notification bell clicked on by clicking the subscribe and the bell down below, because it's probably going to be a very busy next couple of weeks of content, and I want to make sure that you don't miss any of the content. Today's video is extremely alpha packed. Sit back, relax, enjoy it, because I think I've prepared quite a nice video for you guys today to tell you everything you need to know about how to navigate the current market. You have Raoul Pal coming out and saying this is phase 2 of the banana zone. He says feels kind of fruity. He thinks the market will run until August or so actually over the summer months, which are typically quite choppy, boring months in the market, with short, sharp corrections en route. Please enjoy your fruit responsibly. I will talk about later in the video whether I think this is the case, answering the question probably a lot of you are wondering, are we back? Because I don't think everyone trusts this move right now, and for good reason. So there are still a lot of sideline participants in the market, or people that, just think this is a dead cat bounce. And we'll get into whether I think that's the case later. But firstly, let's start by discussing Bitcoin, because this is the center of attention right now alongside Ethereum, which has also, I think, shocked a lot of people with its big move. On the technical side, this has followed pretty much what I was saying the other day. What we ended up having was this reclaim of this 91K zone. I said we're probably going to come and sweep liquidity there. We almost came back down and touched it by retracing to 92. Then I said we're going to touch range high. That's exactly what happened. We didn't just touch range high, we blasted through range high, and now we're sitting at 102K. I mean, for Bitcoin, the real line in the sand right now is actually making sure it holds above 100K. That's a key psychological level, which in the past we've seen many reactions around this level. You can see in this cluster here, multiple retests of 100K once we deviated above and made new highs on Bitcoin. So I expect this to be the case again. I do expect we retest this at some point in the coming days. Obviously, an all-time high retest is also on the cards right now at around 110K, but I think in the shorter term balance of probabilities, we probably come down and test, or and at least sweep some liquidity in the 100K zone, since we smashed straight through. And a lot of the reasons we smashed through is because a lot of shorts were essentially squeezed to the upside. So I would be wary on Bitcoin specifically right now, trying to squeeze the juice out of the lemon from 103 to 110 when it's already put in this massive move. I do think we need to consolidate a little bit above 100K first before taking new positions on Bitcoin specifically. It's slightly different from the altcoin market though, because there are some alts which are only now just starting to make moves down here. So many altcoin charts haven't had this leg yet. They've simply just started to break momentum in this phase here, and they still are yet to go on their legs to the upside. So that's why I'm still comfortable longing some altcoins, which we'll talk about later, even though maybe I wouldn't be comfortable longing Bitcoin specifically right now, because it all depends on the risk reward of the individual chart, right? You have to look at each individual chart on its own merit. I don't think right now you can just long a bunch of random altcoins and hope for the best. You probably will make money in the short term, but I prefer to take a much more systematic approach to the market to make sure I've got the right investment validations, and the right entry on every single coin and every single trade in my portfolio. When you're trying to deal with too many coins and opening up a bunch of positions, that is a recipe for disaster, and it's something I experienced in November, December, and probably something you've experienced too. My number one advice to people right now is just pick a few altcoins that you really like the setups of. We'll talk about some later, that you just really pay attention to those trades and you focus on managing those trades as opposed to trying to manage massive portfolios right now. So Bitcoin's been ripping. This is off the back of some very strong inflows, which has actually seen Bitcoin hitting an all-time high versus the stock market. So this is a very telling chart. Bitcoin actually significantly outperforming equities at the moment. It was stronger on the bounce, and after a little period of underperformance to start the year, we are now kicking into gear on the Bitcoin front. And this is something I've spoken about over the last couple of weeks. Bitcoin is in a really interesting spot right now because it's straddling the line between a risk-on asset and a safe haven asset. Although it's not proven as a digital gold, it does have a very unique position in people's portfolios right now as they look to maximize upside from risk markets whilst minimizing downside from the potential volatility that we've seen from Trump so far. Trump actually came out and was one of the, I think, catalysts for the sentiment that we've seen over the last 48 hours, saying, you better go out and buy stocks now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. So he's echoing the sentiment of a lot of traders right now. But apart from a Bitcoin rally and the stock market as well, I think what's caught the attention of many is the fact that Ethereum put in a plus 20% move today. Now that is not small in the context of Ethereum, because the last time it had a move this big was in October to November last year. And obviously that was one of the catalysts for a massive altcoin run. So obviously a lot of people are now asking, well, with ETH pumping, is this going to be the catalyst for another altcoin run? And you can see Ethereum now is coming up to test this very key level, which is the weekly money noodle, an area that it's respected quite heavily. I would love to see it flip, but for now you do have to accept that we are actually heading into resistance on Ethereum in the very short term. I'm going to keep it level with you, in all these videos. I don't think Ethereum is the greatest buy right now, just based on technicals, because I want to see a confirmed reclaim above this level, and B, I want to see how it reacts in this zone. This would be a logical rejection zone. And even an asset like Bitcoin right now, I don't think is the greatest long in the world either, compared to some of the alts, which actually look really good right now. So obviously these are great risk indicators for the market. Ethereum is a great trigger for a potential altcoin move, but I wouldn't be longing either one of these today, just personally. I already got some really strong longs on Bitcoin. I don't know if you've been following the content for the past few weeks, but I did a video a month ago saying why I'm buying Bitcoin and crypto now. I sat on my couch and I outlined the bull case for Bitcoin and why at 75K I was loading up on Bitcoin. And then the next day when the market was tanking, I said, look, I'm scared, but I'm buying Bitcoin stocks and crypto right now, and here's why. And you can go back and watch these videos. It's all on record. My biggest buys pretty much of all time on Bitcoin and on equities. Actually, they were definitely my biggest equity buys of all time. And a lot of those buys are now up 30 to 50%, which is absolutely mental, by the way, to get a 30 to 50% return on Bitcoin and equities in the space of 1 month and 1 day since I made these videos. It's absolutely bonkers, but that is how volatile the market is right now. And I think if there's a lesson in there, it's that you really have to capitalize on fear. And if you remember, the market didn't bottom on the tariffs themselves. The market bottomed on the thought of tariffs. So just like there's buy the rumor, sell the news with bullish events in markets, there's also buy the rumor, sell the news when it comes to bearish events in markets. So that's something to be aware of, and keep in mind that things are never as bad or never as good as they seem in markets, and you have to play either end of the fear and greed spectrum if you're serious about really maximizing the market. And that's honestly why I recommend just refining your information sources down. If you went onto X during the tariff news, everyone was bearish, everyone was losing their mind. If you go onto X today, everyone is bullish. So your number one job is to cut through the noise, pick a few good information sources, creators, discords that you like, just refine your information sources, and don't take the opinions of thousands of others online. I think X is a terrible place for investment decisions. It's a great place for news and a great place to keep up to date with the market. But if you just let your opinions oscillate based on the opinions of the masses or the sheep, you're probably going to get slaughtered in the market. Remember, Markets have the memory of a goldfish. So just like Ethereum is now super bullish, even though, the sentiment was horrific a couple of weeks ago, the same thing can happen for any asset. So keep in mind that all it takes is a singular candle to the upside for sentiment to completely shift from bearish to bullish. And the same goes for the downside. All it takes is one big red candle to the downside for sentiment to shift from bullish to bearish. You have to remember that in markets, narratives are reflexive to prices. So it's not the other way around. People think that, narratives lead price, but oftentimes, although there are outliers, people will come up with a narrative after the fact. Like now I'm suddenly seeing all these posts about how, the Ethereum Foundation has made the right moves and how, ETH is gaining traction and all this stuff just because prices are up. The narrative actually hasn't changed. The Ethereum Foundation strategy hasn't changed in the last week. The only thing that's changed is price, and people will come up with a narrative after the fact. So keep that in mind. And I think this lends further legitimacy to the importance of actually using technicals in your trading, which is something we're going to focus on today later in the video, where we go through the altcoin setups, because that's one way that you can cut through all of the rubbish in the markets and just get a black and white view over where the momentum is in the market. Now, where's the momentum for altcoins? Well, right now, you can see Total 3 has had a confirmed breakout, both above the momentum indicator of my choice, which is the money noodle, and the moving averages, as well as this diagonal here. And what you can actually see on price is that we have pivoted. You can see almost an inverse head and shoulder structure where we have this higher low starting to form, actually 3 higher lows, and you can see we have actually broken the shoulder line here. And that's always the key level you need to flip to actually change market structure. So if you want to draw it in as a horizontal line here, you can see this is the level that we broke that has actually shifted market structure for Total 3, which is the altcoin index. If you want to exclude every single coin in the top 10 and just look outside of the top 10, you can also see on the daily, we also broke market structure for the small cap altcoins just yesterday. So this is also a confirmed flip. These red circles are something that I actually pointed out in one of my last shows. I think it was 2 weeks ago, that we're actually forming a triple bottom on altcoins. I'm gonna go back in time a little bit, and I'll play a clip from this video so you can see what I was saying 2 weeks ago on the 22nd of April. Is keep an eye on the altcoin market, because we have an interesting setup at the moment where Bitcoin's decoupling from the S&P, but also altcoins are putting in a bit of a triple bottom formation right now. Now, triple bottoms are historically bullish reversal signals, meaning we could see continued relief on alts. That's just what the charts are suggesting right now. And because of that, I'll blow up the chart for you to make it even more obvious. This is the others chart. Because of that, because we have this combination of the Bitcoin breakout alongside a triple bottom for altcoins, I am looking for opportunities in the market, because the altcoin market's been massively oversold. And although I don't think this is a confirmed reversal, and as I said, things are probably going to be choppy over summer, been saying that for some time, there are definitely some trading opportunities that are going to come from this Bitcoin rally. So even if you don't buy Bitcoin here, if it keeps sustaining its rally to 90 to 95K, I mean, alts are going to perform really well during that environment. And there's going to be lots of trading opportunities where you don't necessarily need to be positioning 12 months out in altcoin trades, but you can be receptive to longs. So yeah, that's what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, that, we had 2 clear technical indicators. You had the Bitcoin divergence or decoupling from the S&P, which we've obviously seen continuation of now. And that was in line with the triple bottom on altcoins. So sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to work out what you think in the market. You just simply need to look at the technicals, look at what the charts are saying, and position accordingly. And that's why over the past few weeks, I've been longing altcoins when setups have been presenting. I remember about 10 days ago, I did a massive dump on my Discord where I posted about 20 chart setups. We'll retouch on some of them later today, but many of them are now in profit. And I've had one of my best trading weeks of the year so far since November. And that is because I've just been looking for long continuation setups, because that is what the environment calls for. Now, you'll notice I didn't say in this video, I'm pouring into like a bunch of long-term altcoin positions now. No, that's not the thinking. What I noticed was that there was a bit of a shift between bearish momentum and market structure to bullish market structure. When you're in a bullish market structure environment, you want to be receptive to longs. When you're in a bearish market environment, you either want to be receptive to shorts if you're an active shorter. I personally don't do much of it. So in that case, you're receptive to selling, de-risking, or on bounces, looking to essentially fade those moves by selling altcoins or selling Bitcoin or other positions. So you just need to know at any given time whether we're in a lights off or a risk off environment, or a lights on or a risk on environment. And I said a couple of weeks ago that the signs were very clear that we're shifting into a risk on environment. We didn't know that the market was going to pump this much, but what we did know is that we had to be receptive to longs. And that's why, if you look through the Discord, for example, we've seen so many of our traders absolutely killing it, because our traders, specifically Paradise, are very focused on these long continuation setups, because you always want to be trading with the trend and not against the trend. So, reflecting on my own trading from the past couple of weeks, I'm personally very happy because I managed to take some nice spot positions during extreme fear. I made videos about it at the time. You can go back and watch them, but I was also able to capture some nice long trades. Now, for anyone that didn't catch any long trades, this video will be great for you, because we're going to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 long setups right now, which I think look quite good. And we're going to talk about 3, which have already run, but still could have potential. But before we get into those setups, firstly, I want to take a step back and talk about, do I think fundamentally this is a new alt season? What's my general strategy? And then we'll get into specific altcoin charts. The first thing we have to recognize here is that ETH pumping is probably the best possible scenario for altcoins. We've seen it time and time again. When Ethereum does really well, typically altcoins do follow it, even if it's just speculative capital coming into the ETH betas, like Uniswap, like PEPE, Lido, like these kind of coins that are starting to run today. And you shouldn't fade the magnitude of this move, considering it's ETH's biggest move since November 2024. So although technically ETH can get rejected here, you shouldn't fade its significance. And there are also a lot of people, a lot of retail who just hold Ethereum, who have been really, really annoyed because they've just been underperforming and losing money. Now they're finally seeing some signs of relief, which could activate their interest in the market again. So there are a lot of sideline participants that are now starting to at least pay attention to the market again. I don't think people are fully trusting of the move. It's only been a couple of days. I definitely think we're in a bit of our echo bubble, with everyone super bullish again, when in reality, some alts are still significantly down. So I don't think retail's fully back, but this does set the stage for them to potentially come back. And that's what matters in terms of adjusting our bias between bullish and bearish. That's why right now I still have a bullish bias, despite the fact we've already moved significantly to the upside on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I did a tweet this morning where I said, I definitely think there's room for upside here, especially on oversold altcoins. But I'm not falling into the trap of believing it's a full-blown alt season just yet. I'm net long, but I'm not net stupid. I'm referring in this tweet to a lot of the people now on my timeline saying, it's alt season's back, ETH's just triggered the biggest alt season ever. Look, it could become the biggest alt season ever. It could, but I'm not trading on that assumption, because when you trade on assumptions like that, you end up taking really stupid decisions in terms of risk management. And okay, you might win and you might make a lot of money if that ends up being the case, but that's not the way to consistently and profitably be a good trader over time. And that's why in today's video, I'll give you some measured long setups with clear invalidations. So right now, my preference is to be, because I think we're in a risk on environment for the time being, I want to be conservatively bullish, but I want to have invalidations if the trend shifts. Right now, we've seen a shift from bearish to bullish market structure on altcoins, and I want to be in the right side of the trend. Why would I be shorting an uptrend? It doesn't make any sense. But if that uptrend starts to shift into a downtrend, then I'm going to be de-risking. I'm going to look at going a little bit more risk off in my portfolio. We haven't seen the signs of that yet, so I'm still net long and I'm still risk on, but for the short term, but when we see those signs, then I'll shift out again. And that's why I'm going to be uploading probably most days, because in environments like this, it's very important to stay up to date with the news. So I'll remind you again, if you do want to click that notification bell, give it a click, because I'll be updating you on a lot of these trades, some of which I'll be speaking about today with the P&Ls and everything over the next week, because it's more important now than ever that we actually lock in and pay attention. This is something that I actually said in this video here, which is why I don't really understand why people are like logging off right now and getting bored when we're seeing a triple bottom on the high time frames on alts coinciding with a Bitcoin breakout. Like, isn't this the time to be paying attention? Yeah, that was literally on April 22nd. I was telling people 3 weeks ago, isn't now the time to be paying attention? We have a Bitcoin decoupling and we have a triple bottom on alts, yet everyone's bored and the views were down. It's only got 11.9k views. But it's weird. That's market psychology, right? When the markets are pumping, everyone wants to pay attention. When the markets are going down or boring, no one wants to pay attention. So it's really the opposite of what you should be doing, but that's just how markets work. And if you can be someone that is constantly locked in and someone that's at least got their finger on the pulse at all times, that is an edge. That's called an information edge. That is called an asymmetry in terms of speed of acting. You can act a lot quicker based on the additional information that you have versus the rest of the market who's bored, clocking out, and will be late to arrive at that information and thus late to open trades. And eventually they do become, I guess, and I hate this phrase sometimes, but it's true, your exit liquidity in the event that retail is coming in and actually buying positions that you've pre-positioned in and you want to take profits. Well, you got to sell into someone, and those people are the ones that are late to the information. So I'd like to believe after just one day of the move, technically in the scheme of things, you're early to the information. Obviously you would have been even earlier if you watched these videos that I was making, especially the one on April 22nd and the video on April 8th. But nonetheless, I still think you are earlier than the majority of people, or at least more locked in and dedicated than the majority of people who have just abandoned crypto right now. All the views across the board are down, and you can see this on Into the Crypto versus YouTube subscriber analytics, which is probably one of the more retail platforms, not as retail as Reddit or Instagram or TikTok, but compared to X, I think it has a bigger retail audience as YouTube's one of the most popular social medias. And you can see that the views have dried up. The Twitter followers have dried up, and the YouTube subscribers have also dried up, and the views have also dried up across the board. And that is kind of interesting considering we're now seeing big moves on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins, yet in parallel, we're actually seeing retail interest in the market very, very low. So that is actually quite a good setup to have some big squeezes on altcoins, which we're about to discuss. This is a good framework. I won't go into it now, but I recommend pausing the video and reading. I thought this was a great tweet of how to recognize bottomed out low cap charts. This is actually a very good framework that I'll probably be discussing in depth in a later video, but I don't want this video to be too long and I want to get straight into the charts now. All right, let's go through the altcoins to watch. I've given you a summary on what I think of the market, my approach to the market right now in terms of being conservatively bullish, but only trading with invalidations, and instead of looking for too much risk on long-term altcoin exposure, instead opting for more short to mid-term altcoin trades. This is, I think, the perfect strategy right now for a market like this that still hasn't had a confirmed reversal, but I still want exposure to the upside of the market, obviously. Now, in the Discord, Paradise has been absolutely smashing it. He's our head low time frame trader on a lot of these long continuation plays. He has Virtuals, which was up 60% from entry, FARTCOIN 35%. He had Turbo overnight for 222%. We have 8 live mentorship and live trading sessions throughout the week in MHC. So if you do want to join and actually take part, it's 7 technically, in these events. We got Morin, who's an amazing trader. He's going to be giving a bunch of setups. Fabian for the macro and small cap altcoin stuff. We have Paradise, obviously, for the live charting. He does 2 sessions a week. Doc as well does 1 a week. I also do 1 a week. So we have lots of trading happening in the group right now, where, as you can see in the Traders Hub, people are constantly talking about trades, getting mentorship from our traders. We have our best members actually promoted to the talent analysis chat, where you can see a bunch of amazing setups and trade ideas. So if you do need ideas in this market, and if you also need help with your execution and you're serious about trading, come join the Mars High Club, because the trading channels are absolutely popping off at the moment. If you actually go into the bragging rights channel, you could see people are killing it overnight. These are only like 1 hour ago at the time of recording this video. People hitting longs on FARTCOIN, Mudeng, a lot of these coins that were pumping. Turbo, Virtual, obviously Turbo was Paradise's setup, ENA, all this sort of stuff that you will find here in the group, which has been absolutely amazing. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to join. But if you do want to take advantage of the setups I'm about to give you, that's the best place. I'm available at any time. Well, I'm not in the Discord all day. I usually spend my mornings in the Discord, and then in the afternoon, as the other analysts wake up, they take over. But I am available in my questions channel. If you want to ask me about any setup, if you want another trader to answer, a more expert trader than me even, to answer on a setup, they can give you the best opinion at any given moment. So it's actually an amazing way to bootstrap your learning by being in a community of serious people that actually understand how to trade, because we've curated traders that have had a consistent, profitable track record over time. And I think that's very clear for the people that are trading in the group, because, there's been so much money being made at the moment, especially in an environment like this. Even, by the way, I wouldn't always condone this, but even if you just wanted to join just for 1 month, just while the market's hot, I can't fault you for that. I mean, if you get most of your value during positive market conditions and you think you can only justify the price by joining for a month, join for a month, make a bunch of money, get some help, right, during a period where the risk reward is skewed in your favor, and then you can cancel your membership later. Obviously, I hope you stick around and you see the value, but that is a strategy for some people that just want to make money in the short term when it's lights on. I have no problem with even old members who have cancelled. If you want to come back for the lights on periods, come back for the lights on periods. We're welcome. You're always welcome back in the community. I understand not everyone is always locked into crypto. There are a lot of low time frame traders, right, that prefer to come back into the market and just trade when there's volatility. And when there's not, they don't get value from the group because they're not day trading, which makes complete sense. But for people that want lots of opportunities, these markets are great. But anyway, let's get on with some of the major coins that I want to discuss before talking about some of the setups that haven't run as much yet. PEPE is one. I would be looking for long continuation on this. If we get a pullback, this isn't actionable right now like some of the other coins I'll speak about, but this is one that I would be keeping my eye on as a leading ETH beta on all of the exchanges. One that I think looks a little bit better and is now officially broken out. We've been covering this one for a while, but now I think there's actually a decent technical setup on it, is Tau. The line in the sand for Tau is $335, so obviously it's a little bit overextended beyond that level, but any pullbacks on Tau I would be looking to buy over the next few days, and you've got invalidation below that level at 326. The only problem is if you buy around here, that's going to be a 26% inval, meaning you can't really use leverage on Tau. This is more of a spot play, in my opinion. I have a big bag of Tau in my long-term spot portfolio, as I think this is one of the only coins that can actually go to all-time highs and beyond again, just based on the narrative it has as the leading AI coin. Now, another leading AI coin that was really hot in January, which I'm now starting to see uptick a little bit more in terms of the fundamentals, is virtuals. So what we're actually seeing is the total virtual committed and the total number of agent launches on the virtuals platform starting to increase for the first time in a matter of months. And this is due to the fact they have a much better lineup of agents now. They have a new fair launch mechanism, so they've still been building, and more active participants have been coming into the market for this reason. Now, from a price action perspective, I'm bringing it up because it's into resistance right now, but if it can reclaim this prior range low, that is quite a nice setup for more upside on virtual. And I'll give you another potential trade setup here. If we end up rejecting off this level, what you can look at is actually buying the floor of the range, which is here, on a potential retest. So you've got two options here. I wouldn't be buying right now, but keep your eye on the chart and set alerts for it. Paradise talks about this rally-based rally set up a lot. And this is a great example of a coin that does that. So I'll show you what I mean. It rallied, it formed a base, it rallied. I'm drawing terribly right now. It rallied, it formed a base, it rallied, formed a base, had a retest of that flag, rallied, formed a base. This is where it faked out, went to the downside, but now it's rallying again and it's forming another base. So basically, you can kind of chart these little ranges that these coins actually make. Like this little range here, this range here, and this range here. So that is basically how you can play long continuation, just bidding every time you break out of a range. And now, of course, you can get stopped out. Like you would have made money 3 times and then got stopped out on the 4th time, but you're still 75% profitable on that. So what I would look for is where it actually forms a base now. So is it going to be at this level, which could make sense considering that is the high of the prior range? Then maybe you could bid this level with inval below and look to target range high again, or you can just wait for a higher time frame. We'll go back onto the daily flip of this level here and play that. I know it's already run a lot, but I am seeing the narrative come back, which is why I thought I'd mention a couple coins where I think there's a strong narrative. But now let's talk about some coins that haven't run yet, but actually have some nice setups, and some of which I've actually been opening over the past 12 to 24 hours. One is CHEX. I haven't opened a new trade here yet, but it's barely moved off the lows, and it is approaching significant resistance that, if it can manage to flip again on the 3-day and hold above this 25-cent level, I really think it could come and attempt range highs again. And I think RWA is not going away. They have lots of big announcements that they have planned. I was speaking to them at Token 2049, and I'm still quite bullish. So I haven't sold any recently, really. I think since the de-risk of this breakdown here, and even the money that I de-risked, I'm actually going to put back in if we flip this level. So keep your eye on CHEX. I think the setup actually looks quite good right now, and it's getting more perp listings if you're a trader. Another setup which looks really good that I highlighted on my watch list a few weeks ago, but is now finally breaking above the level I wanted it to break out from, is Mu. Mu now has an official flip of this money noodle here on the 2-day and across some other time frames as well. You can see the 3-day is now starting to break above, and if you want to go to the daily, you can see that it's broken above as well. So this setup looks really nice. You have deviation below this low, you have your reclaim setup, and then you have a break potentially happening right now of the previous high. And this can obviously move to this level here, which would be your first TP. Keep raising your stop up. Paradise talked about that in the group today. If I go into his channel, he said that he's moved all of his stops into profit. So that is a strategy in continuing bullish markets. As prices go up, continue raising your stop to break even, and then actually into the profit threshold, because you can just keep adjusting your risk parameters. And that's something I would look to do on Mu as well. But this one, actually, I've been adding to my longs this morning just because I think it's one of these, memes that was heavily oversold, which could come back. And actually, quite a few of the coins that are on my list are actually memes, just because they were the ones that got beaten down the most. And a lot of them fit the criteria that Overdose was pointing out here in terms of bottomed out low cap charts. Obviously, PEPE's had a big run as the ETH beta meme, but there are others like Mu, WIF as well, that are only now starting to move. I mean, I think WIF moves at some point. I think no doubt Ansem at some point will shill this again, and I think a lot of the Solana eco alts are just beaten down despite Sol being such a strong eco. So although there are reasons why it dropped significantly, just keep your eye on this level. This could potentially be a momentum shift that could be worth longing. In terms of the technical levels you want to watch, this is the high that needs to break, and that has confluence with the moving average, the money noodle on the 3-day. If you want to go to the daily for a bit more of a precise look at the coin, if you scroll down, you can see we've already technically flipped now. So this was actually the level that you'd look to buy. It's respected quite well historically. See how it respected the money noodle during the entire downtrend. So that's how you know it's a good indicator to use. And I guess the people that were trading this would have entered here. Now you either wait for another pullback back into this range, or you wait for a flip of this level, and that's where things really start moving. And for that level, you can zoom out a little bit onto the 3-day. Obviously, you won't execute on the 3-day, but you'll execute on the lower time frames just to give you a scope of things. That's 132% move to the upside. So that's one I'll be trading with some low leverage as well. If you want to continue on the Solana discussion, Jupiter's another coin. It's not a meme, but it's a fundamental coin, which is now only just starting to move, and also has a key flip that could potentially happen to imprint its bullish structure as well. In terms of other memes, POPCAT has a very good setup right now on the 3-day. It's also broken above the moving average. It's also starting to reclaim a key SR level. If you look at the daily, you can also see it's broken above. It was also one of these coins which respected the moving averages on the way down and has had its flip. This is what WIF is, like 2 weeks ahead. So this is like a little bit ahead of WIF. You've got that confirmed breakout. You can trade it with more confidence. It won't make you as much money, but you can trade it with more confidence, in my opinion. One that's a little bit earlier on in its move to the upside is a new launch I've been watching because I actually like it fundamentally, but it's just been down only, and that's Bio. It's one of the biggest DeFi coins on Binance. This has been oversold for a long time. It's now just starting to flip some key levels. So this is the trade I'll actually be looking probably to take today if I get validation on the lower time frames. Another one that I actually want to get up that just came to mind is GUNZilla, because this launch was pretty bad, but this is a coin that I think fundamentally could do well at some point. So with new launches, you just want to see, I'll just chart it live for you. You want to see where the range is establishing. It's got a pretty clear range at the moment. You can see here, it's got its high at the 6.6 level, and then its low at the 4.5 level. It's now facing a little bit of mid-range resistance. This is just like a chop zone. What I like to do on my charts is I'll have the range high and range low in bold, and then I'll make the mid-range a dotted line just so it's easy for me to see. So basically you want to trade the extremities here of the range, and there's 2 major points and then obviously your pivot point in the middle, but always look to trade based on the technicals of these new launches, because it's so hard to, tell when the downtrend's over. One where it kind of looks like the downtrend's over that I've also been speaking about in prior shows is NILLION. If you want to go onto the daily chart, you can see NILLION now starting to make a substantial move. Just ignore the moving averages on new coins because they don't have the price history, but it has actually started to now break above that resistance level as well. And if you look on the 3-day, look on the daily, not daily, 8 hourly, we need a lower time frame. You can now see that it started to solidify above these wick highs here. So probably it will come back down, and that's where you can look to open a long. But this is one I would long on a pullback. And then there are many alts which have, this is a different setup. These aren't reclaim setups, but these are setups with inval, where you've actually had a coin react to one area a lot. That's your area of interest. For example, PINLINK, where you have this area where it just responds really, really well. These are decent bases if you see coins like this, where you can actually long, even if they're just pushing above, and you've got your inval below. Now it's like 25% inval, so just keep that in mind. You can only really trade spot with these setups, but I like buying when there's like a clear base or a level that's being defended on the chart, and PINLINK fits this criteria. Like if you go into the 8 hourly, you can see just how well it's actually respected that level, and there's some sort of compression into that level. I mean, it's hard with these coins on DEXs, which have a bit more volatility, but you can see that it's starting to look like a flag breakout because you have that compression, and then you have this local high being tested at the moment. So a little bit of work to do on that, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that these are also setups that I like in the market. So I'm watching setups like that as well. So I've kind of given you 3 stages of altcoins today. I've given you coins that are broken out that you can look to buy on retests. I've given you some setups which are just now starting to break out, which look good, that you can trade based on technicals. And then I've given you, a coin that's a little bit further behind, but could be next to run. And I would probably prioritize them in order of that flow. There are a few, setups which I've taken today just because I think they look good and the market is a bit more in risk on mode. So yeah, if you do want my general thoughts again, maybe go back earlier into the video because I know it's been a long video, and rewatch the section before you open any trades about my general feeling on the market, because I think that was a valuable section about how I'm conservatively bullish, but I have invalidations based on the trend shift to more bullish conditions. And then I will, probably do an update maybe tomorrow, depending on how volatile the market is, or Sunday, but I'm definitely uploading pretty much every day now because there's a lot to talk about. So make sure you are subscribed, have that notification bell ticked so you don't miss a video, and link in the description below to the Mars High Club if you want a bit more live action in terms of trading, even hand holding if you want some help with this stuff, because I know getting entries isn't always easy if you're not experienced, and I think that's the primary reason why we created Mars High Club, to educate people to just become better at crypto. Trading obviously being a big focus for us right now, considering that has been probably the more effective way to make money in recent times. I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out, guys.